short session here is, I'll give you just a little bit of background on Franklin Templeton digital assets, and kind of how we think about things, because that I think provides some context behind this research competition, which we think is a great idea. This was an idea that Evan and Parth kind of came to me with, and we were just super excited to play a part in it, because we think that the role of fundamentals, actually doing real work and analysis on these blockchains, on these protocols, on these tokens, it's only going to increase over time. I think this is, what you have here with crypto, right, is this transformational technology and also the emergence of a new asset class. And both are in their infancy, but both are growing significantly. And with respect to that asset class, it's really becoming institutionalized. And as it becomes more institutionalized, and that kind of investment rigor that, that's borrowed from equities and fixed income and commodity land gets applied to this new asset class, I think we'll see fundamentals matter more as we go from cycle to cycle. And as the range of market participants kind of expands and you get more, folks, savvy investors like Parth and, big firms like Franklin involved in the space. So, I've got a couple of prepared slides. We'll just crank through these to set the stage, and then really kind of pivot into the research competition itself, and really spend, hopefully at least half the time on questions and answers, and making this a little bit more of a dialogue. So for folks that don't know Franklin Templeton, just think large global asset manager. I think 1.6, the number moves around a little bit, trillion under management. And when I say global, I really mean that. We're in over 150 different countries. I end up traveling quite a bit, was just in the Middle East and in Singapore and wherever I'm at, whatever crypto conference is there and speaking at, we have a local office there, which is fantastic. They don't always do crypto in that office, but there are people selling traditional assets and products, and they are all excited and they're all interested in learning more about this technology and this asset class. So, in that kind of global travel, I really have this perspective of, it's governments, it's sovereign wealth funds, it's central banks, it's big companies, Fortune 500 companies all around the world paying attention to this technology and this asset class. So when it comes to where does digital assets fit within Franklin, we're really our own group. We're not tucked into alternatives. A lot of us came from traditional assets. I came from private credit. I'm kind of an alternatives focused person with a lot of kind of credit and private credit experience. But what makes our digital asset group unique is we're builders and investors in the space, right? So our project Benji, maybe you've heard of it, but we have in-house blockchain engineers actually tokenizing real-world assets, putting them on chain. And so, like, if I needed to do a diligence call, I've got in-house blockchain engineers to talk to. And as I mentioned, this is a strategic priority for the firm. Our CEO, Jenny Johnson, she loves crypto. She owns crypto. She thinks like, hey, this technology could disrupt our whole industry, and so we better pay attention to it. She also sees it as a new emerging asset class, so we better have products available for our clients. And so it's a real strategic priority for our firm. And I think, that's vital, I think, as we go to market, as we kind of compete on the global stage. And then I think just with that, we've been around over 75 years, good reputation with the regulators to launch that product, Benji. Probably talked to the SEC like 80 times. And so, good relationships there. And I think that all that kind of comes to bear as we look to build out this platform, right? So, what are we doing in digital assets? As I mentioned a little bit, we're builders and we're investors. And the two side pillars, those are kind of like the building ones. Digital assets technology, that's where we're tokenizing real world assets. Node operations, we're running nodes on, I think, a dozen different chains. But the focus of today in this research competition and what I'm very passionate about is this new asset class, and how do we invest in it, and what types of products can we come up with to offer for our clients. And I think in the world of crypto, right, one continuum is to think of it as like super early stage. This is an idea on a napkin and maybe a basic 1-page business plan, and it gets funding. This is kind of the realm of venture capital. But what's crazy about this space, right, is they can go public, so to speak. They can launch a token so early on, and now that token might just kind of trade on DEXs or maybe OTC, and maybe as it gets a little bigger, the centralized exchanges pick it up, but eventually it becomes a larger market cap. It's listed token, and so how do we think about a range of strategies, and how should you guys think about evaluating a project when it's like on napkin stage, versus listed token. And what's crazy is even at the far end of this is still all like early stage, growth techie startup in the scheme of things, right? Even something like Ethereum, right, is still pretty early days. So a little bit just how we think about things, because you can think about then how you approach a research project. But whatever asset class I've been in, it always comes down to diligence and data and diligence calls, right? So with respect to data, the nice thing about blockchains is you have a lot of data to work with, and real-time metrics and KPIs, and your users, or I guess your wallets as a proxy for users, and the transaction activity, and your TVL, and actually then kind of constructing on-chain financial statements, or gross fees, and well, what happens to those? Are there cost of goods sold? Do we need to pay out someone? Like a lot of these crypto projects are two-sided marketplaces, right? And so you have to think about, well, the top line fees, are we paying people who are putting up capital or providing liquidity, and what kind of leftover? What's this concept of profits for a protocol, and where do those go? There's also a lot of social data that you can go through, and sentiment. And I should say, the way we built our platform and our analyst team, I'm a philosophy major. I'm not a comp sci guy, right? We have a lot of fundamental analysts on team, but we have a lot of really quants and data scientists and engineers. And I think kind of having both and approaching the space is super helpful here. Just like in any asset class I've been in any investment committee, I think the idea is you want to start doing a little bit of work, and just to figure out, hey, is this thing actionable? Does it have legs? Like, is there something to do here? Because your time is one of your most precious resources, right? So if you can kill an idea quickly, like that's valuable, both for this competition and in the real world. And so I think the idea is we do a pre-screen often, and if it kind of meets the basic smell test, that's when we'll do the deeper dive, right? That's when we'll try to figure out who we can call with the protocol or the labs or the foundation, or who kind of came into the round, or what key influencers are working on the project, or whatever. Diligence calls, and then as much data that you can use. This idea of show not tell. Like if you believe in a certain investment thesis, you should be able to prove it out right in the data. There's a lot of one mental model. I think this is popularized by the bankless guys, and so we use it because a lot of people recognize it. But the triple point framework, whatever they call that thing. But the idea that digital asset tokens kind of have a commodity-like feature to them. They have a capital asset feature to them, and a store of value feature, right? And I think the important thing here, Bitcoin, I think we would all say it kind of falls into store of value asset, right? But a lot of these other protocols and tokens that we're looking into, some are really not meant to be invested in. They're meant to have fun with, or an in-game currency, or whatever, right? There's no value accrual mechanism, and that's kind of like the key phrase, right? Is we're looking for things, since we're putting these into portfolios, right? Like we would a stock or a bond. We want something in the tokenomic design that can capture the value and translate that to the token. So if these are networks, the bigger the network grows, that's great, but we need somehow, some way for that value of the network to get back to the value and the token price of that digital asset token. This kind of goes, a necessary but not sufficient condition. There's my philosophy background, right? And so, anything nowadays can have a token. I think thousands of tokens are created every single day. The long tail is ridiculous. I think I've heard more than 60% of all tokens are now created on Solana or some crazy stat. With meme coins taking off and everything, and it's just the barriers to entry to create a token are really low, right? So when we think about which tokens make good investments, make sure you think about why is there a token, And and in this protocol, in this network, if it's growing, how does any of that value kind of get back to the token? I think that's a key point to think about as you approach this. One phrase that's often tossed around is the idea of tokenomics. So we just have this like one side, because a lot of times people are like, what is that? But I think it really relates to a couple of the concepts we've already touched on, right? Value accrual we mentioned. I think that's incredibly important. I will say, when I first got into this space, I thought value accrual was like number one for what I was looking for. But I think above that has to be product market fit. And like, why does this thing exist? Is it just a copycat of something else? Is it just a fad? And so I think really determining whether something has product market fit is incredibly important. And then kind of secondarily, how does that value get back to the token? And when you think about it, in kind of traditional businesses, you want a moat. You want, right, something to separate yourself from your competitors and kind of create that defensive moat so that you don't get replaced. And in open source code, you can just kind of copy and paste. You can fork a chain or a protocol. So what are the moats in crypto? And one of the only kind of provable ones seems to be the idea of network effects. And kind of certain advantages that come with that. So again, as you're kind of digging into these, keep that in mind. Like, it might be great right now, but how is it going to achieve network effects? How is it going to build any kind of moat? Is any of that value going to be sustainable? I think on the token supply side, and the way the token's distributed, and the way the burns and sinks work, this is all incredibly important too. And so one thing that's different about tokens in crypto versus, say, equities is the amount of inflation and emissions and these unlocks that can literally like double your circulating supply overnight, right? So be very mindful of that, because if tomorrow the circulating supply doubles, that the price of that token is gonna go down, right? And so you have to kind of be mindful of what's happening with the supply of tokens. Just as mindful about that as what are the demand drivers for the token. I guess just think about that as you're approaching this as well. I just threw a whole bunch of, so people are like, hey, how do you value these things? And they ask me, do you value these things? Do you actually come up with price targets for these things? So yes, we do. And so all the analysts, when they're doing an initiating coverage, like on a protocol and token, they will actually come up with a price target and a conviction level. And those two inputs that are analyst derived are two of the many inputs that go into our portfolio construction and kind of optimization process. And so then the follow-up question is, well, how do you actually come up with the value for one of these things? And I think, valuation is as much art as it is science. If you guys, go into the investment banking route, this gets kind of pounded into your head. You can do intrinsic valuation techniques like DCF, and relative valuation techniques like, in TradFi, it's comparable company analysis. Here we call it comparable protocol analysis. Years to profitability, that's a method we came up with. It's a form of kind of payback analysis that can be done. But the bottom line here is there's no silver bullet, right? And so what we do is, depending on the type of protocol, whether it's a layer one or it's an application or whatnot, certain ones of these techniques might be applicable and certain ones might not be. And we never just use one, right? So we're always trying to kind of triangulate around a source of value. We're Messari clients and big fans, and number 9 is one of theirs, the expected demand for security model. That's something that they kind of authored up, and so we like that mental model and way of looking at things. So we try to use a lot of these, and I think the key takeaway for this slide is the no silver bullet, right? And however you can kind of wrap your head around the protocol, what kind of good or service is it actually delivering into the world, and is that real, and does it exist, is it going to be sustainable, and how does that value get back to the token? Like, that's how you should be thinking about. Okay, so that was setting the stage, and a little bit about Franklin and what we do and how it relates to looking at protocols and tokens. The research competition. So Parth, thanks again for sending this out. I've got page 1 and page 2 copied in here, but just to highlight some of the cliff notes or the key points. I think, and then we'll kind of open this up to Q&A. But what we're looking for here initially is a written submission. That's the thing that's due on November 4th. And then from that, we'll narrow down to a set of finalists that come in and pitch live. And this is just like the real world, right? Like our whole team, we write up protocols and tokens all the time, and our venture colleagues do as well. And there's always a written deliverable that people review and ask questions about and kind of poke holes on. And then, you know, if it's got legs, we're sitting around as an investment committee and we're talking through it. And the analyst kind of bringing that idea to the table is pitching it. And so this is some great kind of real world experience. And, you know, whether you go into a career in crypto on the buy side or any other asset that you might be investing in, I think this process of learning how to pitch and defend an idea is incredibly important. So the way we design this is 3 categories. And one is, you know, kind of the best long idea for a market cap greater than 200 million. And when we use market cap here in crypto, that can mean a couple different things. But the default way of thinking of it is the circulating market cap. So like when you go into Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko, the market cap that's the most commonly referenced number, that's the circulating market cap. That's what we're talking about here, versus the fully diluted market cap, right? Which is also available on those pages. But for purpose of this competition, we're a long idea greater than 200 million, and then the best long idea less than 200 million. So we're getting more into micro cap territory, which is really, you know, Par's specialty. We have like, as he mentioned, we've been friends a while, and same with Evan. We bat ideas around all the time. And so really, you know, excited and curious to hear what you guys come up in these various categories. And then, you know, while shorting in crypto can be quite dangerous, I think developing that way of analyzing a token as a short idea is a very valuable kind of muscle to work on. And so we have a short category here, and basically any market cap over $1 billion could be available as part of your opportunity set to think about a short thesis. These are done in teams of 1 to 4. We're looking for a max of 5 teams per university, and you just write 1 report per team. So that's how I kind of thought about the clip notes of this page. Again, the deliverable is a Word doc, and think investment pitch, not book report. So I think the most common mistake I see is that someone will spend the bulk of their written thing basically just describing what the protocol does. It just kind of the nature of the token is all descriptive. And that's great, and that context is important for understanding wherein lies the investment opportunity. But really, you want to say just enough of that background information that, okay, we get it, and then really focus on the investment opportunity within this situation. So I think, investment pitch, not just book report, and show, don't just tell. So we're using data, graphs, charts, analysis to try to communicate and convey, the key points of our argument. Every investment has cons and risks. And a lot of times, from junior analysts, I'll get something that, the whole thing looks flowery and wonderful. And it's like, where could we be wrong here? Where can we get punched in the nose? And in crypto, a lot can go wrong, right? So just be mindful of what the key risks are in any investment opportunity. Usually it comes down to like one of 3 things need to really happen for it to take off. And the way it could get torpedoed is also, it's kind of like 1 to 3 things. So while the list might be, 20, you have to know what the key drivers are that are going to drive success for a certain, business or protocol here, as well as what the real key risks are in the deal. So, be mindful of that. And I think as you think about all these things are early stage and are gaining traction and adoption. And so you have to have a view of where could this go. So that starts with total addressable market, like how big is the market opportunity? Maybe this company or protocol that I'm looking at could be, X% share of that total opportunity. How are we going to get there? So having an idea what your base case is in terms of growth and adoption, I think is really important. We'll be looking for, right? You can think about what an upside case would be. You can think about what a downside case might be, but really being reasonable with yourself about what a logical base case is and how do you support that. I think is important. So that's kind of what I took away as the key points of this research competition and this first deliverable, which is the written doc. So happy to now open it up for questions, either in terms of specific questions relating to the competition. We have great people on, Parth and Evan, who can help with that, or in terms of anything else kind of crypto or investment or research related. We could talk about that. I think the plan is to flip the mic over to our wonderful Messari colleagues in a second, but we can definitely spend some time, kind of opening up as a dialogue.
Yeah, we have a good amount of time for Q&A right now, like 15 minutes, so no rush on that end. There was a question in the chat. I can read it to you. It was will the slides be shared? So I'll leave that one.
I think we can follow up on that. I'm pretty sure I can share them through the with this group, right? Through the chat or whatever. Or the
we'll just keep it in the Telegram chat.
Yeah.
Any questions? Really? I'll just make one point on the short section. So with shorting, the fear is always getting short squeezed, right? It goes up, and that can often happen in something like a bull market. So one thing, if there's ever a short pitch, I think usually, generally speaking, what you want to do is think about how you're going to manage that. And there are two good ways of doing that. I'll get to your questions. Actually, I'll let Christopher answer that question in a second, Robert. But there are two ways of doing that. One is really focusing your short as an event-based trade. So something like that is you're shorting going into like a token unlock, for example, a very specific moment. That's one way to approach it, where you can just manage risk for that time period. The second approach that I see a lot of people do is a pair trade, where you want to short a token, but you're afraid of beta or just general market movement causing a short squeeze. So what you might want to do is pair trade, where you short that token and go long with a very similar token that you're bullish on. That way, if there's general market bullishness, the token that's going up will cover your short squeeze of the token you want to short. That's just like a couple of small points I wanted to make on the short side, as opposed to just being like, oh, I would like to short Doge because Doge has no fundamental value. Like, you got to think through the management aspect of that short a little bit further than just saying, I want to short this thing because I don't like it. So just wanted to point that out. Yeah, there are now a handful of questions I can read to you. Office hours. So generally, they're not going to be office hours. There will be support in the form of just like a Q&A. And I am willing to spend some time with the teams, like 15 minutes, just answering questions. But we can't give a lot of feedback, mainly because we are also the judges. So there's like a very careful line that we don't want to cross. And that especially goes to people at Michigan Blockchain, because I know for a fact you guys are going to be texting me a lot of things. So I won't be able to give as much away. So another question is, can you elaborate more on your pre-screening process? Also, how much should we be considering macro factors? So I'll hand that one off to you.
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that we do most in that pre-screen process, because there are tens of thousands of tokens, so that pre-screen might be some almost like logistical things that we're looking for, like where or how would we buy this token? Does it have a big enough market cap and liquidity for like an institution to buy it? it's one thing to buy it, then I got to custody it somewhere. So is it available on our kind of, preferred custodians, all that stuff. So there's that, right? But but I think another key piece is that capital asset feature, because not all tokens are meant to be invested in, right? I mean, you can, from a speculative, reason, invest in any of these tokens. But I think not all tokens have fundamentals, and we have decided that the way we're going to approach this space is with that kind of fundamental lens to it. And so I think exercising that muscle is a good thing to do. So I think for purposes of this research, competition, I would be more interested in things that you can kind of back up through analysis rather than just like, hey, I think this really key, KOL influencer is about to pump this thing, and so we should get in right before that. I think we're more looking for users and GBL and fees and things of that nature. So the quick answer on the pre-screen is I think the most important thing is just what is this thing actually gaining some traction, and is there a value accrual mechanism? If you get a yes to both of those, that's a pretty good pre-screen to start to do some more work on it. And then that also kind of relates to this idea of your investment horizon. And so I think in crypto, there's a lot of different types of investors. Some are literally looking like hour to hour or like day to day. What we try to do at least is I'm trying to have a view of where this thing is going, called like 6 to 18 months from now. Again, from the token perspective, my venture colleagues, they're thinking longer term, but me on the token side, I'm trying to understand where it could go like 6 to 18 months right now, both in terms of the fundamentals and the key performance indicators, the KPIs and operating stats that I'm looking for, as well as important catalysts. That's one thing we didn't touch on here, but in crypto, you actually have a lot of catalysts or event-driven opportunities for the token to take off, or at least you'll just learn more, and it might change your thesis. You might have to pivot. And so as I look 6 to 18 months out, I'm thinking about those catalysts between now and then. And those could be token unlocks, or it could be the launch of a new, product, or getting put on an exchange. It could be a whole host of things. But in terms of the kind of modeling, and this gets into your question about macro factors, for again purposes of exercising that muscle and actually doing the work and making sure we do it for all the tokens that we look at, we are actually kind of building 5-10 year models and projection periods. This is going to be riddled with error, right? But you're doing your best case, and we're realizing that there is kind of a 4-year cycle to this industry and asset class, and so we overlay this concept of these 4-year cycles over that projection period. So this is one way how we think about it. It's not the only way, but that brings in some of the macro things a little bit, like where you might think we are in the cycle or whatnot, or if rates are going to come down, what could that do to it? Those are things you can't control, right? You can be mindful of them, but you can't control them. So I think focusing on the things that the team, the development team building out this company and protocol and designing this token, the things that they can control, I would focus on some of that stuff, because usually if someone wants crypto exposure, they're already kind of buying into a certain macro view, and then they're looking to you to kind of come up with the best ideas. That's how I kind of think about that.
So how do we access these resources like Messari? So with Messari is going to be at the end of this, is going to be sharing a coupon, and then each club, it's one per club. So have someone from your club with your club email, like your club-wide email, sign up to the Messari Pro account and apply the coupon, and it'll essentially give you 100% off. That's how Messari is going to work. Sorry. Delphi and Artemis is a little bit different, where I actually need an email from each club, and it's generally been the general email, like the club-wide email, and I give that to Delphi and Artemis to onboard you guys. I need that one by tomorrow, so I can send it to them before the Wednesday, and then it can be ready before the Wednesday session. The next question, one of the suggestions in the report structure says, show us rather than tell us through graphs, tables, and other forms of data. Can you talk about this point and let us know what is expected in the report?
Yeah, thanks. Another good question. I think, look, if you're taking a long investment thesis, it means you're bullish or constructive on the protocol and usually the price at which you could buy that token relative to its upside. And so the crux of your argument will, of why you like it will be, A, B, C, D, or whatever. And you can think about this. This relates to our idea of pros and cons. So, where you could be right is because of these reasons, and where you could be wrong, these are the key risks that you want to be mindful of. But the key parts of your argumentation, you want to then actually kind of prove out or substantiate or validate these, because basically these are the key assumptions of your argument, right? And so you want to show enough analysis to make the reader, someone not familiar with the opportunity, be able to believe in that assumption being valid, and then the set of your assumptions leading to a coherent, investment argument. And so what this actually looks like will kind of depend on the opportunity that you're looking at, but think of it as you have to prove out each assumption that's going into your argument. And a real life example, me in my early days, I was pitching an oil and gas opportunity, and I brought it in, to investment committee, and the head of our firm, the chief risk officer, and the whole thing, right? I thought I nailed this thing, had my entire presentation. I'm like, we should do this. Here's why the price is attractive. Boom, boom, boom. The whole thing. And in philosophy, we would call that, a sound argument. And I just thought I killed it, right? And they're like, this looks great. Okay. They handed it back to me, and they're like, why don't you just go prove out every assumption you just made? And so, that was the part that they were questioning is I was taking it for granted, or I believed in it, but I didn't actually prove out the underlying assumptions for my investment thesis. And so how do you do that? It's through, that combination of data analysis and kind of diligence calls. And here, look, if you pull off a diligence call, great. But really it's, kind of using a bunch of these resources, going through the data that's available, to kind of construct your argument and prove out what you can.
I would recommend going on page 2. So they're 10 pair trade, and then a long meta, which is MetaDAO. So I chose those two because you have a long above 200 million and a long below 200 million, and then also a quasi short. Those have graphs. Those are pretty concise. They get to the point. They're maybe not as detailed as what we might expect, but these guys are really just trying to get, these guys move a lot faster is the thing. They're just trying to get the points out there. But it's overall very comprehensive. It's definitely show, don't tell sort of approach in those two examples. So I definitely recommend going through those. And any other questions? This is the opportunity. This is it. All right. If that's the case, I think we can move on to Messari, which I believe is Colin going to be speaking today, right?
Hey, yes, I am here. Can you hear me all right?
Hear you great.
All good. Awesome. Hello, everyone. I am Colin. I'm from customer success here at Messari, as the name implies, helping our customers be successful on the site. So I do kind of tours of the site and introductions. So I'm happy to be a part of this with you guys. Shout out to Chris first for the positive feedback on Messari. I hope we have a lot of useful tools that will be helpful for you guys for this project. As Parth mentioned, we do have a promo code. It's actually good for all of you guys. If you want to sign up individually on your individual emails, I will drop that in the chat here closer to the end. But it will go until the final day of the competition. So hop on there yourselves, get signed up. You will not be charged. That's the one caveat. It does collect your payment information, but it's the free promo. So don't worry about that. It will fall off at the end of the competition, like I said. So all that rambling being said, I'll now share my screen. And like I said, just sort of walk you guys through what we have to offer and hopefully a lot of things that will be helpful for you here. So behave for me here. How about that? Looks good on my window. Somebody yell at me if it's not, but I'm assuming it is, and we will dig right in here. So, like I said, you'll get the promo code. You'll go to the site to get logged in. Once you're logged in, you'll see you're on our Pro subscription tier up here in the corner. And then I'm going to walk through a handful of those features and then tie it all together at the end with our newest release, our AI Copilot, where you can directly query our crypto data. I think it'll make your lives a lot easier, and I'm saving it for last so nobody falls asleep on me here. But digging in, what Messari has to offer is, we're commonly known as a research company. I think that's where we first kind of rose to prominence, was through the research reports. Over time, we tried to offer a more holistic solution, and that includes data sets, whether that be market data, a little bit of on-chain data. We have what we consider to be the largest fundraising data set available in the marketplace. News, of course. We have our events monitor, token unlocks, and then I'm going to touch on definitely our asset screener, which is kind of a high-powered tool that helps you get through all of the data sets. So just starting, high level, thinking you guys are on the idea generation phase. We need to find these assets that we think could form our theses. Using the data sets tab and jump into assets, you'll see we have over 30,000 covered. These are funneling in from centralized exchanges, DEXs, all over the place, all different ecosystems and such. So you can definitely use this as kind of your base starting point if you are doing that filtering. Maybe you think that you want to start with AI exposure, something along those lines. We have our classification system that allows you to narrow down these assets and find different names. Obviously, one of the requirements is market cap. We do have that available here as well. But the most powerful feature, so this is just kind of simple filters. You'll see go to screener up in the top, or our asset screener up in the top navigation. Hopefully this will be helpful for you. As the name implies, we are screening across those 30,000 assets. So starting with the filters, you can see I click on add a filter, and it's saying, what do I want to filter these assets by? There's all the different categories that we have available, so obviously this is up to you guys and your theses, which of these metrics are going to be helpful for you. I'd recommend kind of scrolling down through the full list. You can hover over the little eye to kind of understand what the data points are and fully understand what's available, and then you can start to apply those. So showing you how it works, obviously market cap is one of them. If I just do circulating market cap, I'll choose my operator, greater than or equal to, and what was it, 200 million? If I could type 200 million, and we will get our result of 272 assets that meet that criteria for a potential long. What's nice is that, the other page I showed you has just the filters, but this one we can stack filters on top of it. So I already have my market cap filter. Maybe I am looking for something within that AI space. Like I mentioned, I could go to classification, tags, and choose AI. Obviously, whichever other ones you want can be included in there as well. And it's going to continue refining my data set down. If my internet was a little bit better here in Missouri, this would load for us. And we'd see, there we go, 13 names, over 200 market cap, and in that AI sector. Just to give you another example of how powerful this can be, I'll wipe that one out there. And I will show you what we call our transformations. So think of these as kind of just more advanced filters. I like to use it with price, and you'll see it pops up for certain data metrics. And what this is doing is using our computational power in the cloud to manipulate whatever data metric you guys are filtering on. So if I click on the FX, I can do apply a transformation. And then I can look at this price over, let's say, a 7-day average. I can look at the max or minimum price over a certain time period. I could do it over a specific year. I could do month to date, quarter to date, whatever it might be. So I see some people, they might look at the minimum market cap in 2022 bear market and compare that to the current market cap, things along those lines. Just to run through one here, we'll do like a moving average crossover. So we'll do a 21-day price, come back up to my operator, and I'll say greater than. I can search for price again. And like I said, keep it in mind, I'm doing this for price, but there's multiple metrics that it's available for. So, if market cap is one that you wanted to filter on, whatever it might be, I'll apply that. I chose my two operators with those kind of advanced filters, those transformations on there. And now what this is telling me is, maybe I'm looking for a little momentum in the assets that I'm screening for. And so I see that the latest price, the 21-day average price, is higher than the 100-day average price. And so I can see maybe it's rising, and I might expect it to continue over my investment holding period, something along those lines. So just keep that in mind as the kind of complexity that you can use for these filters. The final stage of the kind of asset screening process, right? So we apply our filters, we get our universe below here, and then how do we want to analyze that universe? I have the Manage Columns button right here, and this allows me to customize the columns that are on my display table with the same metrics that I was filtering on below. So like I said, if you do screen, you find your little universe, you can customize it for a nice review. So what you could do here is pull in all the metrics that are available, take that in a screenshot, and then put that in the report, to kind of visualize how it compares, something along those lines, perhaps. But that's available to you there. And then as we go and dig into some of these, if I click on one of them, I can get a nice sidebar preview, a little price action, external links as I'm doing my research, and then the asset page link right here. I could also do something like go to our main search bar up in the top right, type in a name. I'm going to leave that screener behind, and go to the project page. So if we're using the screener for that kind of idea generation part, the next step, obviously, once we have our idea, is how do we research this and perform our analysis. And this project page will be your best friend in that regard, to where you can click on it in the search results, or just use this search bar to jump to everything surrounding one specific project. You'll see it all over here in the left-hand navigation. And then obviously kind of on this landing page, we have the nice summary. We have an AI recap available to you. So if this is a new name that you haven't heard of and you just want to get caught up, you can click on here and see what's happened over the past 30 days. And it's summarizing all the major events. You can see, Chris dug into the token unlocks and supply changes on his presentation. We have a deep dive on that right here. News headlines, different network metrics, and things along those lines. So I know I've thrown a lot at you with the screener and digging into the projects. Did anybody have any questions that they wanted to interrupt me with, or shall I continue? All good? Awesome. Awesome. Then we will come back to this project page for sure. Just like one kind of note on the overall navigation of the site as you are exploring. So we went to the screener up here at the top, and then now we're on the project page where we have everything on the left. But just to keep in mind, like this top navigation is going to be more aggregated views. So that's going to be like all of our assets collected, whereas this is going to be just the single asset that we're looking at. So if I want Arbitrum token unlocks, I can click on this. But if I want all of our token unlocks for all the assets we're tracking, I would come up to the top, select this, and we can see that full view. While we're here, we'll just touch on it just as kind of another research tool. Something that you'll definitely want included in your analysis is token unlocks. You'll see we're covering 120 assets for this. So it might be hit or miss depending on what names you guys come up with. Probably more the larger cap ones here. But you can see, what % of unlocks are completed so far. When are the next major token unlocks? So we have cliff unlocks, or if there's a daily rate change in the amount that is being unlocked, and you'll see those sorted by time so you can understand what's coming. And then, like I said, if we do click into one of these, it takes us back to that project page on the token unlocks section. Some real helpful metrics here. Obviously, upcoming events that will play into your holding period. Cool charts here where we have the historical unlocks overlaid with price. So this could be something as you're forming your thesis, what happened in the past. Obviously, past performance does not guarantee future results, but a good indicator right there, perhaps, with those unlocks. And then as we see those unlocks coming, who were they initially allocated to? So we have the allocation breakdowns. We have the total vesting schedule. So, what types of investors are these tokens actually unlocking to? And then the data table on those here as well. So, Continuing on here, just with a couple, or since we're on our what we call our Intel tab, so this is kind of tracking major events. We do also have a governance section that will be available to you guys. This could kind of be another thing where a token unlock can affect the near future. There might be governance votes where something could pass that would affect maybe fee generation or something along those lines. So it could definitely be something to peek into. What proposals are out there during your holding period. It maybe is there actually something that is being actively voted on, as you can see here on the left. So definitely a page to check on from that sort of qualitative perspective there. Another large database that we have here, and I touched on this at the beginning. This one I won't spend too much time on because it could be an idea generation tool, or it could be useless to you guys in this competition. But we do have what we consider to be the largest, most complete crypto fundraising data set. So this is over 15,000 VC and angel rounds. We have the entities that are raising those rounds, as you'll see here. And then we have a database of the investors that are participating in those rounds. Once again, we have this nice table view, but you'll see we do have a screener available for these. And where I was thinking it could potentially be helpful for you is if I'm screening across rounds, we have a filter that has native asset is true. And that is saying that this has a token that is tracked by Messari that's publicly available, which would fit into your thesis here. So another way that you could build on this is, maybe there are certain investors that you believe in or believe in their theses or have been incredibly successful. You could filter by rounds that they've closed that have a public token available as sort of a piggyback, if you will. Just as like I said, sort of uncovering those names before you perform your own diligence there. So continuing on, research is kind of the last big one that I wanted to touch on here. And this kind of serves a purpose for the research phase or potentially even the idea generation. As I mentioned, Messari is kind of known for the research reporting. So you can see a lot of good coverage across existing protocols in our quarterly reports that I'll touch on, as well as uncovering new ideas. Like I said, might be an idea generation tool. One little shortcut that I'll show you here is we do have a handful of our own valuations on the site. So it could help you to understand how the Messari analyst team likes to look at their valuations. So you could apply that tag on there and read into a handful of these just as you're sort of forming your own theses. And I will say that as we go into some of these, I believe at the bottom, I'll get down there 1 second. Oh, I thought we had a link to the actual reports in here. Some of them might have the actual, there it is. Google Sheet of the model that our analysts use. So like I said, just a helpful tool that could maybe help you understand how they're doing their valuations as you look to form your own theses there. Hopefully that is helpful. That is our more, whoops, sorry, it's moving a little slow for me here. Those research reports are going to be our more kind of thesis-driven, thematic type reports. It's going to be what's hot in the market, like I said, versus what's coming down the pipelines. This other section that I want to show you here is called our protocol reporting. And this should be helpful for you as you are doing your deep dives. What this is, I don't know why they're all not showing here. There we go. Think of these as your traditional equity quarterly filings, right? We're trying to bring that to the crypto ecosystem. So you will see all the ones that have, the Q3 2024, these ones that are titled Understanding. Think of those as kind of like an initiation of coverage to where we are sort of introducing that new protocol, and then we will have the quarterly reports after it. But let's say you picked Live Peer as one of your names to give you an idea of what these reports look like. You'll definitely see a background on them, but it showcases that quarter-over-quarter performance. So it could be helpful for kind of your own broad view of what is taking place with this. How is it growing or declining over the past couple of quarters. And then I will show you if we go to, once again, back to that project page. We do have this network data for a handful of networks right now, and you'll see it if I jump to Solana here, network metrics. You'll see we have the transactions, addresses. We have DeFi metrics like TVL and bridge flow, but fair warning, it is only for a handful of networks right now. I think we're up to 12 or so. I believe you guys have the Artemis subscription. I mean, I would be the first to say they offer a great product that will be able to help you with a lot of this on-chain stuff, I think. But we do have some available on this aggregated view as well as on those individual project pages. So that's pretty much it for kind of the introduction of things. Like I said, I want to just run through everything, make sure you're exposed to it, make sure you know it's there. If it's helpful, you'll be able to find it again and use it, or you'll forget everything I said if it is not helpful. I'll pause for any quick questions there, or just drop them in the chat if you do have any. I do not see any right now. So we will close with the most important thing that we have here. Like I said, up in the top right-hand corner is our brand new Ask Copilot button. You guys have all used AI assistants. I don't think I need to explain it too much, but you ask it a question, it gives you a great answer. We built this because we have the vast expanse of data and reports that I just rambled through for you guys. How can we help you, identify what's most important faster? And we decided that the AI assistant was the way to go. And you'll see here just a couple sample questions. We have tons of them available. Just to give you an idea, we will use one of them, but you'll see a full detailed answer. It's going to spit out everything that you need to know based on your question. And then the most important part is that it is going to cite everything that it provides to you. So we're looking at external sources. You saw a Twitter on there as well. We definitely have our news headlines that are coming into this. But really, like I said, we're known for those research reports, and it is going to pull in things that our analysts have written or covered in the past as well, which will then kind of link to you, and you'll be able to click on that and read more into it as well. So definitely something that, at least while you have access, play around with, ask it some questions, and honestly see if you can break it. Give me some feedback if it can't answer any of your questions as you're doing your research. That's mostly it from my side. I'll pause. Chris, Parth, anything that you might like me to touch on that I might not have, or any questions?
Loved it. I also like the aerodrome example, because real life example. We were looking into that, initiated coverage on it. We definitely read your guys' report and thought it was great. And so even on the buy side, right? Analysts do this all the time, because it's like you want to leverage other people already doing the kind of initial work on it, getting familiar with it, see how they thought of their view of value. Obviously, we come up with our own, but that's all part of the process. So great example there.
Awesome. Then I will say thanks to everybody. We're glad, like I said, we're glad to be a part of this, and glad to have you guys using Messari. Hopefully it is helpful. I'm going to find that coupon code, or maybe my teammate Molly can send it in the chat. We will get that to you. Like I said, go ahead and get signed up. You will not be charged. I am in the Telegram group as well now, that you guys all have. So if you do need anything, feel free to shoot me a note in there, or any issues with the code or getting signed up, whatever it might be. I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome. Is it okay if we throw the coupon in the chat itself, in the Telegram chat?
Yeah, actually that'll probably be better. Once I find it, I will drop it in there.
Great.
I think
Great.
I sent it in this meeting chat, but you can, assuming that's the right one, Colin, double check me. You can send that same one in the Telegram.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. No questions at all? We good?
Yeah, before
Okay.
we hop off, I just want to remind everyone that we're running this back on same time on Wednesday with Delphi and Artemis. So just so you guys get full suite, research or data access, and then you could, pick and choose what you like and hopefully use it for the years ahead.
Make sure to cite your resources. So we're expecting a lot of Messari and other links on the reports.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I think that's, should we wait one more? Molly, do you want to? Okay. Is the FTMBC, it's like that one coupon and you just throw that in as you're signing up?
Yeah.
That works?
Yeah. When everybody, once you click sign up, and it'll ask, like I said, it asks for the payment information, but with that code in there, it'll take it to a zero cost and allow you to check out. And I think I did just shoot it into the Telegram channel for everybody that missed this call too.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. If you do have any questions for Messari team, for myself, for Christopher, for whoever, you can throw it in the chat. And yeah, looking forward to seeing all of you on Wednesday.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.